25, and clock is ticking.
So keep telling y'all.
In the world of municipal politics, daily operations typically take precedence over unnecessary drama, with leaders focusing on addressing issues that directly affect their communities. However, in the town of Dalton, Illinois, Mayor Tiffany Henyard has turned her time in office into a spectacle, transforming her tenure into something that more closely resembles a reality television show rather than a term defined by any significant achievements. Henyard has become infamous for her controversial actions, questionable financial decisions, and an increasingly erratic leadership style. Her time in office has been characterized by scandals, reckless spending, and worsening financial instability. The debate surrounding her leadership has only intensified as concerns about her governance continue to grow. Social media has become the primary outlet for the frustrated residents of Dalton and the neighboring Thornton Township to voice their concerns about Henyard's decisions. Yet, despite the mounting public outrage, Henyard has remained unfazed, steadfastly defending her actions while ignoring the increasing number of calls for her resignation. One of the more shocking moments during her tenure came when she announced her intention to seek a second term as mayor, despite the serious problems that plagued her first term. Instead of addressing the concerns raised by the community, Henyard boldly compared herself to former President Donald Trump, a polarizing figure whose leadership style many consider to be highly divisive. This boastful comparison only intensified public disapproval, with many residents openly questioning whether she was fit to hold office. Public meetings in Dalton have become chaotic, with local trustees frequently engaged in heated debates over Henyard's poor management. Many residents have attended these gatherings, venting their frustrations and demanding accountability. The town's already dire financial situation has only worsened under Henyard's leadership, with Dalton now facing an alarming deficit of over $3 million. Just a few years prior, the town had a healthy general fund balance exceeding $5 million. Henyard's decisions have not only depleted that surplus, but have also placed the municipality in severe financial jeopardy. The situation became even more troubling when an investigation, led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, uncovered alarming information about Dalton's finances. Among the most shocking discoveries was a taxpayer-funded shopping spree on Amazon that cost the town approximately $40,000. Yes, that is correct. A single-day online shopping spree, funded entirely with taxpayer money. Residents were outraged and demanded answers, wanting to know exactly what was purchased, who authorized the expenditures, and why such reckless spending was necessary. Henyard's refusal to provide a clear explanation only fueled the community's anger and deepened the public's mistrust. Despite the growing criticism and widespread calls for accountability, Henyard has continued to embrace her self-styled super mayor persona, acting as though the worsening financial situation was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. Instead of addressing the town's financial crisis, she has doubled down on her bid for a second term, refusing to acknowledge the overwhelming evidence of financial waste under her leadership. Her blatant lack of transparency regarding financial matters and her continued refusal to provide direct answers have left many questioning her ability to govern effectively. Poor management has become synonymous with her administration, and the rift between Henyard and the residents of Dalton has only widened. Once seen as a promising political figure, Henyard is now viewed as a symbol of division and frustration. The strong support she once enjoyed has largely been replaced by an increasing number of people calling for her resignation. As the city continues to spiral deeper into financial ruin and chaos, it is becoming painfully evident that Henyard's leadership has done more harm than good. Despite this, her determination remains unshaken. Whether Henyard can salvage her political career, or whether the people of Dalton will finally demand the change they have been calling for, remains uncertain. With nearly the entire town now opposed to her re-election bid, it seems increasingly likely that her time in office may soon come to an end. Adding to the controversy, a financial audit of the village has revealed serious issues with Henyard's management of public funds. The audit uncovered a disturbing pattern of reckless spending, particularly regarding high-value charges made on the village's credit card. Under Henyard's supervision, these excessive charges became routine. Many of these transactions were either unjustified or lacked proper documentation, leading critics to accuse her of grossly mismanaging taxpayer money. During an especially heated village meeting, one outraged resident stood up and demanded accountability, exclaiming, "Where is the responsibility? Our streets are crumbling, our schools lack sufficient funding, and she is spending money as if it were monopoly money." Many others in attendance shared this sentiment, calling for an explanation of her spending habits and questioning her priorities as mayor. Despite the widespread criticism, Henyard has continued to insist that her leadership is essential for Dalton's future, defending her actions without acknowledging the deepening public dissatisfaction. However, financial mismanagement is not the only issue at hand. Henyard has also come under fire for her aggressive and confrontational leadership style. Public meetings, which were once spaces for constructive discussions, have devolved into battlegrounds where trustees and residents openly clash with her over her decision-making and leadership approach. One particularly tense meeting saw Henyard arriving late, prolonging an already volatile situation and adding to the mounting frustration of those in attendance. Many residents now feel that their concerns are being ignored, as Henyard shows little willingness to engage with the community. Rather than addressing the growing unrest, she has dismissed the criticism as personal disdain, insisting that Dalton needs her leadership. Her defensiveness reached a breaking point when one frustrated attendee stood up in anger and declared, "We are not your subjects. We are responsible for you. You will no longer treat us like this." Yet, even in the face of such overwhelming opposition, Henyard has refused to take responsibility for her actions. Her time in office, once full of promise, has been marred by scandal, financial recklessness, and a leadership style that has alienated nearly the entire town. As Dalton's financial crisis deepens and public frustration continues to grow, the question remains: how much longer can Henyard hold on to power before the people of Dalton demand real change? In the realm of municipal governance, day-to-day responsibilities typically take priority over unnecessary theatrics, with leaders focusing on resolving issues that directly affect their communities. However, in the town of Dalton, Illinois, Mayor Tiffany Henyard has turned her tenure into a spectacle, making her time in office resemble a dramatic television show rather than a period of meaningful leadership. Henyard has gained notoriety for her controversial actions, questionable financial choices, and an increasingly unpredictable leadership approach. Her administration has been marked by scandals, reckless expenditures, and worsening financial instability. As concerns about her governance continue to grow, the debate surrounding her leadership has become more intense. Frustrated residents of Dalton and the neighboring Thornton Township have taken to social media as their primary platform to voice their concerns about Henyard's decisions. Despite the rising public outcry, Henyard remains undeterred, defending her actions while ignoring the escalating calls for her resignation. Her combative behavior has only exacerbated the growing dissatisfaction among residents. In the midst of these controversies, Henyard continues to proclaim, "Whether you like it or not, I'm your mayor," showing no intention of altering her leadership style. Her aggressive demeanor and apparent disregard for Dalton's financial stability have made her deeply unpopular. Many locals now perceive her as disconnected from the very people she was elected to serve, raising serious doubts about how much longer she can hold on to her position. With the town's finances in freefall and investigations into her administration's financial practices ongoing, it appears increasingly unlikely that Henyard will be able to withstand the mounting pressure for much longer. Public meetings, which were once places for open discussion, have transformed into hostile confrontations, as her refusal to take responsibility only fuels the community's frustration. The lingering question remains, can Henyard continue to evade accountability and maintain her grip on power, or will she ultimately be removed from office? In addition to facing intense political pressure, Henyard is now embroiled in personal controversy. She is currently the subject of an eviction lawsuit, with her landlord accusing her and her boyfriend of failing to pay rent since August. The landlord claims they owe hundreds of dollars in past due rent and even alleges that they changed the locks on the property. Critics have seized upon this revelation, questioning how someone who holds 2 government positions and earns over $300,000 annually could find themselves in such severe financial distress. Henyard, who has built her public persona as super mayor, has made several grand public appearances, including commissioning massive banners featuring her image throughout Dalton. These self-promotional displays have been widely criticized as tone-deaf and self-serving, with many residents viewing them as an attempt to distract from the town's pressing financial crisis. Instead of addressing the concerns of the community, Henyard appears more focused on crafting a spectacle that prioritizes her public image over real solutions. Despite her mounting financial and political troubles, Henyard's defiant attitude and refusal to change course have allowed her to retain her position, at least for now. However, with each passing day, the divide between her and the residents of Dalton continues to grow. The town is deeply fractured, and as financial investigations progress, it is becoming increasingly clear that Henyard's leadership has become a symbol of wastefulness, division, and public dissatisfaction. If she decides to seek re-election, it is almost certain that the people of Dalton will remember her tenure for all the wrong reasons. Her time in office has been defined by scandal, poor financial management, and a reluctance to engage with the community. The legacy of Tiffany Henyard's administration will likely not be remembered for its accomplishments or progress, but rather for missed opportunities and political mismanagement. While time will determine whether she can turn things around, it seems more and more unlikely that her political career will survive the crisis she has created. Dalton, Illinois is experiencing a political storm, and at its center stands Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Once considered a rising political figure, her time in office has increasingly been defined by scandals, poor decisions, and an overwhelming obsession with her public image. As the town struggles with severe financial instability, Henyard's leadership seems to prioritize her personal reputation over the well-being of the community she was elected to serve. One of the most controversial incidents of her tenure occurred when it was revealed that the vendor responsible for producing the massive banners featuring her face across Dalton had not been paid for their work. The display, which many residents viewed as self-indulgent and tone-deaf, became a source of widespread frustration at a time when the town was dealing with significant economic hardship. Henyard's public display of self-promotion struck many as highly inappropriate, and the failure to compensate the vendor only fueled further outrage. Her decision to focus on maintaining a polished public image rather than addressing Dalton's financial struggles led critics to label her actions as irresponsible and embarrassing. One particularly vocal resident pointed out that Henyard seemed more concerned with her personal reputation than the actual needs of Dalton. The oversized banners were not merely a publicity stunt, but a clear representation of Henyard's broader leadership approach. As Dalton's financial crisis deepened, Henyard's fixation on optics drew widespread ire, and her approval ratings continued to plummet. The situation escalated when reports surfaced that Henyard had allegedly called the police to prevent workers from removing the banners and had even filed charges against her own village administrator. Her actions appeared increasingly erratic and disconnected from the town's real concerns. This bizarre series of events only widened the gap between Henyard and Dalton's residents. However, the issues extend beyond her public image. Financial mismanagement has been a consistent theme throughout her time in office. As the town's finances spiraled into a deficit exceeding $3 million, Henyard's decisions were repeatedly called into question. Many pointed to her erratic behavior, including bypassing standard procedures and rushing through projects without proper planning or support, as clear indicators of poor judgment. This pattern of reckless financial oversight has only deepened the town's fiscal crisis, and many Dalton residents view it as a direct result of Henyard's leadership. Henyard's leadership style has also alienated many within her own administration. Local officials and trustees have become increasingly frustrated with her unwillingness to engage in meaningful dialogue or compromise. Tensions have continued to rise, and many in Dalton now believe that her time as mayor has been marked not by progress, but by instability, financial recklessness, and a relentless focus on self-promotion. As the financial investigations continue and public dissatisfaction intensifies, Henyard's ability to maintain her position appears more uncertain than ever. Whether she can weather the storm and hold on to power, or whether she will ultimately be forced to step down remains to be seen. However, one thing is clear: her leadership has left Dalton deeply divided, and the town's future now depends on the decisions its residents will make in response to her tenure.